Welcome to the Sexy and Sacred Show with Sage and Steve, where sexuality, sensuality, and spirituality meet to help you create a blissful relationship that enhances your spiritual path and raises your love vibration for personal and planetary transformation. Today on the Sacred and Sexy Show, we'll be talking about sacred partnership. I'm Steve Gibbs, and I'm here with my sacred partner, Sage Taylor Kingsley. So, Sage, I know what we have as a sacred partnership, but given how rare this is, how would you define that?
Great question, Steve. So, for me, there are a few components to a sacred partnership, or it's an intimate, divinely inspired relationship in which both partners honor their spiritual as well as their physical, mental, and emotional connection and their growth in those ways individually and as a couple. And a sacred partnership, the relationship enhances and is enhanced by their path of awakening as individuals. And oftentimes the partners may consider God or spirit, whatever word they use for that, to be an invisible yet essential part of their bond, and maybe even like God helped bring them together, and that they share a sense of higher purpose and kind of a mission on earth together. So all of that is a sacred partnership, a divine relationship, and I'm so grateful and blessed beyond words to be co-creating this with you.
That's pretty important to me, that's for sure.
So how does that resonate for you? What does that all mean for you, sacred partnership or divine relationship?
I just know for me, feeling what I felt when I first met you, there was something there that felt very comfortable. We felt extremely connected just talking on the phone. We hadn't even met yet. So when it came to us talking, and we knew that it was pretty unlikely that the relationship wasn't going to work before we even met. I mean, just talking and feeling into things. I mean, I think we were even starting to complete each other's sentences
Yeah.
and do that sort of thing early,
That's
right at the
true.
very beginning.
So, yeah, I know what you mean. It feels like an incredible sense of alignment and harmony, ease and flow. And yes, the passion is there, like the chemistry is there. Just because it felt comfortable and, in my case, safe, it didn't mean that the passion and the intensity was lacking, So it's like, yes, you can have it all in one person. You can, you really can. So that's awesome. And I feel like once someone knows that this is possible for them, either conceptually because they're hearing about it, they're hearing shows like this, or they're reading books, they're going to workshops, or they know someone else who's had a relationship like this, rare as it may be. We're not the only people on the planet who are this blessed, thank goodness, right? And we are part of our mission to help, millions more people have a level of relationship like this. But once you know it's actually possible to have this kind of connection, body, mind, heart, and soul with one person, and an incredible alignment and harmony and flow, you just don't want any other type of relationship. It's like, why would you go backwards? Why would you settle for less when you know that this is potentially yours, So, and I think there's a few takeaways for all of you here. You might be single right now, or you might be in a relationship that you think has the potential for this, or maybe it already has this to some degree and you want to go higher and deeper with it. Or you might be in a relationship where you're like, I don't really sense, if I'm really honest with myself, I don't really sense that my current partner can go to these places with me. So I want to just give a couple of words of advice for those three different situations you might be in. If you're single, you need to do the inner work and alignment on yourself, which we're going to be talking more about in other shows and other ways you can work with us and play with us. But you need to keep your standards high. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, you're being too fussy, you need to, just get out there and randomly date 1,000 people. It's not a numbers game. You need to be clear about what you want and trust your intuition. If you know something is right or it isn't right, your intuition is going to steer you correctly.
Yes, absolutely. And I must say the flip side of that I have seen is a lot of people tend to get shut down after having X amount of relationships over many, many years, especially the older you get up into like your 50s. I have run into women that are like, oh, I'm very clear that, I don't want to be married and I don't want to be living with a man. I need my own space and I need this and I need that and I need this and I need this. And so much of that, so many times comes from fear. It's oftentimes we close ourselves off to protect ourselves from what we have had happen in the past.
The projection.
And to come from a space of expectation, of preparing yourself and expecting better than you've had in the past, expecting real, wonderful, deep, deep love, physical relationship, sexual relationship that's really powerful and is exactly what you want. You have to obviously have your boundaries. You have to be clear on what you want, where you want to live. You have to paint a full picture of it, but you need to not, in my opinion, you need to not be coming from a place of fear or, I learned in the past that men can be this way or men can be that way. Well,
or women for that
yeah,
matter.
or men, exactly.
And the other way too.
Yes, it goes both ways. But for me, because I opened myself up to a point of knowing what I wanted, but being who I am, I worked through a lot of things for many, 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 many years and many relationships. And I made a lot of mistakes in relationships. I look back now and I think, boy, I can't believe how stupid I was when I was like 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, at 20 years old, I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I didn't know very well hardly anything about sex. And I was also trying to avoid being injured or hurt.
Right.
So now I've learned how to be vulnerable. I've taken lots and lots of different workshops and different types of trainings over the years that have helped prepare me.
And I am thankful for all that inner work that you've done and also for all the partners you've been with along the way, because that's all part of your journey. And you wouldn't be the man that you are today that I love and adore and am loved and adored by if you hadn't been through all that. And there could be exceptions. I don't want to say all people in their 20s are unconscious or that kind of thing. But I think that there is a level of maturity that happens with life experience, especially if we reflect upon it. And I would just disagree with one wording that you have there, my love, which is, I'm not sure anything is a mistake. I think it's only a mistake if you keep repeating the same thing over and over. You keep stupidly sort of doing the same thing over and over, different, excuse my language, different shit, different face, same shit, different face. It's like, why am I constantly with, people who cheat or lie or are emotionally unavailable or, have different attachment style than me or, addiction issues or are violent or, whatever the thing might be, or sexually shut off or, whatever. People can have these patterns and we need to pay attention to the patterns. But when we pay attention to our patterns, then we go, okay, well, maybe that has something to do with me then, if I keep finding myself in these situations. So as we develop and we become more conscious and we learn to use law of attraction and we learn about energy and alignment and intention, and we're going to be getting more into that today and also in other shows, we empower ourselves to become more clear about what we really desire and deserve in life and in love. And we don't settle for less than that. But we have to kind of find a balance. And what you're saying is really important. A balance between keeping our heart open and keeping that flame of hope alive. Because there's a reason that, you want to be partnered. There's a reason that part of you feels part of your life isn't quite complete without that wonderful person by your side to share that sunset with, to share, all these little moments in life with. There is a natural longing in us humans to be partnered for most people, and keeping that hope alive, not giving up on it, not shutting yourself off, not just, I don't need that, but also not just staying in relationships that don't fulfill you with someone who is not your match. And so I want to give the example, and sometimes we need to do that because we're learning or we're gaining something from that, but it's not the long-term safe place for our heart, So like the person I was with before you, we were very sexually compatible, which was important to me after coming out of a very long, decades-long relationship with not the sexual compatibility and lacking the sexual fulfillment. And as a highly passionate woman, I wanted that part of me to become alive again. And so he served as a sexual reawakener after I did a lot of the reawakening on my own too, which we'll talk more about, and I mentioned that already. But there wasn't the spiritual connection. And I didn't feel he was on his spiritual path nearly as much as I am. And when I would talk about spiritual stuff, like his eyes would glaze over and he would change the subject, and it's like he's not holding the space, let alone entering the space with me, no pun intended, but you know what I mean? So there was always this, I don't think this is my spiritual match, and I also love to be, I'm a very creative person. I love to be with a partner who's creative, who has some kind of outlet for creativity. And, look at you, you're a master photographer, you're a drummer, you're a carpenter, like you exude creativity, not to mention what you do in bed. And he's mine, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, he's mine. You have to find your own version. But like, I'm a super creative person. And, that individual I was with just, didn't do that. Like it was always sort of watching Netflix, kind of smoking a lot of substances. And there wasn't that same level of like being inspired by life, and I want to tell you something so cool. When you and I were messaging before we met, and one of the things you wrote me, this was so cute. I just love it so much. I think I probably rose into love with you in this moment. You wrote to me something about your love of nature. And you were like, sometimes, this is you literally typing this in a message, sometimes I just want to run out there, at the beach and just throw my arms up and dance and be like, oh my God, this planet is so beautiful. I'm so lucky to be alive. Ah, and you typed that to me. And then you typed, do I sound crazy yet? And I was like, oh my God, this is my person. This is my man. This is a person who gets it, who is in love with life and who's in love with Mother Earth. And we're both tearing up over here, guys. And I wrote back something like crazy good, like crazy in all the best ways, like, and I think that's what we need. We need to be authentic. We need to be our full selves. We need to be in love with life and love ourselves and, be grateful, mostly, of course, we're going to have our shadow stuff come up. We're going to have our crappy moments, but to be in that state of positivity and trust that there is a right partner for you. They're not a perfect human being, because everyone has their stuff, but the way that their stuff and your stuff kind of fits, and I don't just mean physically, the way that the stuff fits, you don't trigger the F out of each other just by being yourself. You don't have a lot of triggering. And there's this concept that people have that, every relationship is a lot of work. Not true. A relationship does require work and nurturing, like a garden. It does, but it doesn't have to be like, we're constantly working on the relationship. And just to give you an example, again, that person I was with before Steve, I was in therapy at the time, and I probably spent 80% of my therapy sessions analyzing that relationship. And he had kind of an avoidant attachment style, and I was feeling anxious. It was making me feel anxious, even though I'm usually quite secure in my attachment style. And we can talk more about that. Some of you might know a lot about that already. But I was like, why am I constantly feeling unmet here? Something is just missing. And my heart knew, it wasn't the safe long-term heart space. Whereas with you, Steve, I knew the opposite immediately. It was like, this is my safe heart space. A man
Yes.
who's saying to me immediately, can I place my hand over your heart and gaze at you? Can I read to you the love poems that you've written that no one's ever read to you before so that you can receive? I'm like, this is the embodiment of a divine masculine human here. Like, wow, I hit the jackpot. But I had to do the inner work. And, and Steve feels the same way, I'm sure, like that we each feel that we hit the jackpot. That's how it should be. So that's my recommendation for singles. And we're going to be talking more on our future shows about the 4 steps to higher love, and the difference between soulmates and heartmates, and all kinds of important things for manifesting that kind of love and creating that kind of love. And if you're in a relationship, you need to really be honest with yourself and with your partner. If you are a person who is evolving spiritually and is on a rapid path of enlightenment and consciousness and heartfulness as well as mindfulness, and your partner is not on that path, if they're not on that path at all, and you just keep having resistance and you keep feeling like that part of yourself and your life is not embraced in the relationship, you may really need to make the hard but necessary choice of letting go. And there's a great book, by the way, that I recommend called Conscious Uncoupling by Catherine Woodward. And if you're in that situation, I highly encourage you to check out that book. On the other hand, if you're in a relationship where you're like, well, there's a lot of good pieces here. We love each other. Most of the time we get along really well. Hopefully there's still some sexual spark, going on, or at least some openness to that, but it's not quite to the level that you want, then you're in a great position to talk to your partner about sacred partnership, about a divine relationship, about conscious loving. Another great book, Conscious Loving by Gay and Kathleen Hendricks. So, there are resources for you, and we encourage you to really look at that. And that's why we're here doing this podcast, because we want to demonstrate for you what is possible for you.
Absolutely. And I was thinking as you were talking, I don't even know if we want to get into this portion of it, but for me, I'm thinking back on when we started this journey, and in over a period of time, we had things happen that to me was unbelievable and miraculous. So when we're talking about us having a sacred partnership, this came out of actually a divine inspiration. And we literally had, made love, we'd gone to bed, we were asleep, woke up, and I was lying there awake, and suddenly I was breathing, and we had our hands in kind of this figure 8 holding hands. So we were awake, but we were very much in this deep, meditative space, into the, I would say, theta space. And all of a sudden, I was seeing this bright light coming into me. I had my eyes closed, but I felt my energy raise and this brightness come to me. This was super powerful for me. And as that happened, I'm not as visual. Everything for me is more feeling. It's a different type of seeing. Sage, on the other hand, who does channeling, and she has had so many things happen. So this is so deep, so beyond anything that I have ever personally experienced. So Sage, at about that point, what happened for you?
Right. And this is a really precious and sacred thing to share with all of you. Most people would hear this and would think that we are crazy, which is okay, because it doesn't really matter to me what other people think in that sense. We know what we know, and we've experienced what we experienced. So I am very blessed. Since 1994, I had 3 near-death experiences in 18 hours that blasted open my third eye and my inner ear, and I've been very, very blessed now for all these decades to have that kind of consistent level of connection. I believe all of us have that connection, but for me, it's something I can tap into, and these magical things happen to me much more often than the average person. So while the same thing was happening for Steve with this feeling of like bliss and love and light and, you know, wow, something amazing is happening here.
Yeah.
I actually saw Jesus Christ and Yeshua, Jesus Christ, and Mary Magdalene, the two divine partners, and they were smiling at us. I didn't know what was happening, and I kind of looked at them and sort of asked, you know, wordlessly, like, what's happening here, you know, and I was feeling a lot of the same. There was a lot of pink going on. And then Mary Magdalene threw confetti up in the air. And she did this like throwing her arms up and throwing confetti on us. And I was in awe and like, what is happening? And she said something. I'd have to look back at the notes that I wrote after that happened to try to remember every single detail. But essentially, she said, you are in a divine union and you have been brought together for a holy purpose, and you will go forth and you will share as this sacred couple, you know, one of however many thousands she said there were on the earth. There's a certain number of like couples that are like at this level. And what a blessing to be given that assignment to stand in that space of love, not in a place of bragging, like, oh, look at us, lucky us, what we have, but in a state of grace and gratitude with our hearts overflowing to all of you right here, right now. There are no limitations of time and space. We are here with you and we are embracing you and we are saying to you and showing to you, higher love is your birthright. This level of love is who you are. And that is our message to you. And we're going to keep showing that to you and showering that upon you with every word of love that we get to drip into your gorgeous ears. So that is why we are here. And that's what Sacred Partnership, that's part of our Sacred Partnership. Everyone's experience will be different, of course. And we just have so much love, not only for each other, but for life and for God and Goddess and for all of you.
And our planet.
And our world, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you for allowing us to share something really precious to us.
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful beloveds, this is Sage, and I'm being guided right now to go straight into a channeled meditative healing. So if you can, give yourself the opportunity to receive this fully. Perhaps not while you're driving. We want you to be safe, of course. So give this to yourself. Receive this as a healing and a beautiful blessing and treat for you, for your day, for your evening. So let yourself just relax and become comfortable. And we invite you to sit or lie down with your palms facing upward. This is a posture of receptivity. And you will be able to receive all that is for your highest good in the ways that are perfect for you. And after this healing meditation, you will remember whatever you need to remember and awaken feeling refreshed, uplifted, revitalized, and wonderful in every way. Allowing your awareness to come to your breath. And breathing in peace. Good. And breathing out a release of whatever you need to let go of. And you might envision that as breathing in a beautiful pink, or perhaps white or gold, or even a rainbow. Whatever color or colors you see are perfect for you. And breathing out anything that feels dark or heavy, whatever no longer serves you, whatever energies do not belong to you. And with your out breath, all that you release dissolves and dissipates and turns into sparkly light. This is Mary Magdalene. I come to you now, beloveds, side by side with my beloved, whom many of you know as Jesus Christ, Jesus the Christed, or Yeshua, as he was known during his earth walk. I am here to help you remember that your body is sacred and holy and good and lush and luscious and glorious. As some of you may know, I worked as a prostitute. Although you don't know all of the story, it was not of my will or intent. I was forced into that situation, which happens even to this day in your time now for far too many, mostly females, but some males as well. So I am here to help you set yourself free from the sexual slavery of limiting beliefs that keep you locked in chains of shame. That shame is not your energy. It was given to you by someone who themselves was forced into this sexual slavery of shame. And that was given to them by someone before them, and on and on and on. Back it goes. On the ancestral lineage, and the past life lineage, and the energetic lineage. And there are levels to this healing beyond what you can even understand right now, dear one. And that is all right. And it is all light. You are worthy simply because you are a child of God. You are a creature of the earth. You are physical and you are divine. You are metaphysical and you are cherished. Say to yourself, I am cherished. I am cherished. I am cherished. How does that feel? You may have some strong emotions coming through you, perhaps even tears of release, relief, joy. You may have scenes from your past flooding into your awareness. Just let it all flow, dear one. You are not that. You never were. You are love and light divine. Your body is a sacred temple. And you can say this to yourself or aloud. My body is a sacred temple. And I share my temple with those who treat me with reverence, kindness, and compassion. Know that this is so. Name it and claim it. When I evolved or transitioned my lifestyle from being used and treated as less than garbage to being the sacred consort for an ascended master embodied into the form whose very name evokes and invokes healing for millions and millions and millions. And my beautiful Yeshua's light touches not just this earth, for he is a star child, and so are you. And as he said, as I have done, so too you shall do. Know that this is so. Know that you are holy and you are good and you are love embodied. And say to yourself, or aloud, allowing it, I am love embodied. I am love embodied. Feel this in every cell. Feel it in your toes. Feel it in your fingers. Feel it in your hair. Feel it in your bones, in your blood, in your breath. I am love embodied. And with this knowingness imbued into and radiating from every part of who you ever have been, of who you are, and who you ever shall be, give yourself a caress right now and feel my love, and feel the love of Yeshua, and feel the love of God, Goddess, in whatever forms are perfect for you to attune with right now. For you are all of this and more. And when you are ready, open your eyes and smile.
So beautiful. Well, thank you very much, Sage, for your part in channeling through Mary Magdalene. It brought up tears for me hearing this because I feel so connected and so grateful for having this type of information available. You know, Sage is a lot more advanced than I am, and that probably most of us are when it comes to this sacred connection. I see her poetry is coming out, multiple poems, one after another, and this just huge amount of, information that flows through her. But I just want all of us who are listening to this to realize that we're all connected. We're all connected very deeply to so many possibilities, so many realities, so much information. And it's extremely complex. We won't get into this here, but I just want everyone to realize that you should be listening to your heart, listening to your intuitions, and set intentions and live your life as if you also are sacred, because we all are. So thank you very much for being with us.
I want to give a special thank you also to Mary Magdalene for coming through so beautifully with words of love that are more than words, and to Yeshua, and also to my beautiful beloved Steve Gibbs for being my divine complement and sacred partner. And I want to give thanks to all of you for listening to your highest self and that voice of love that guided you. And I like to say guided you, connected you with your God self, to be here today and to give yourself this space and this grace to receive these teachings that really are gentle and powerful reminders and rehearters of that which we all already knew before we were born, but somehow forgot quite a bit of it. And that's what we're here to do, is to remember the love we are and to help one another to remember that as well and to be the love we are. Amen. So thank you for that, and thank you for spending some time with us today. Please join us over at our Facebook community if you haven't already, which is Sexy and Sacred Community. We'd also love to hear from you. So the way to do that is you can leave comments on our Facebook group. You can also leave comments if you're catching this on YouTube. We have a Gmail, sexyandsacredshow@gmail.com. You can jot us a notice there as well. And we look forward to sharing more with you. Steve, do you want to tell us about the next show?
Yes. thank you for being with us again. And join us next time. This will be our third show, The Magic of Sex and Sex Magic.
That is going to be very yummy.
Indeed. Thanks for being part of our growing community at the Sexy and Sacred Show. Please share the love, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and catch us next time at your favorite podcast platform. Until then, remember, you are sexy and you are sacred.